We're live, Cécile.
Yeah, we're live. Okay. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be at Dingle Festival again this year. Last year, we've had a lovely, very interesting conversation with a few women in animation, because this is the topic today. And I'm super happy to have another conversation this year with another panel of very talented women in animation and games. So this is a topic that is still very, very important in our industry, and it's a very crucial topic. Last year we discussed about, the fact that 90% of young female graduates would like to occupy, creative roles and leading roles in the industry. That's 90%, and they end up finally finding themselves at 12%. So what happens in between? I was at Cartoon Movie 2 days ago and discussing with a young female producer as well, and she was saying, God, women do not manage to get the big budgets. Okay, so what's going on in the animation industry? What happened in the past 10 years as well? So this is what we are going to discuss today, and what is left to do as well. So I would like to welcome our panel. Maybe we can exchange about what happened, what has changed in the past 10 years. Ladies, who would like to start? And Joanna, please. Joanna, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
As well.
Thank you for
Joanna,
inviting your panel.
So what happened in the past? What happened in the past?
In the past 10 years,
significant changes in the industry for women.
Sadly, no. I can't see a visible huge difference. I have noticed in the last couple of years that there seem to be more women in bigger jobs in some of the bigger studios, in America, which is really good. But I do tend to see more women going into production than directing or script writing. And unfortunately, I think it's probably directing and script writing which needs to change, because then the stories will change and there'll be, more women represented. So, I'm slightly different because I work on my own, and we've got our own studio. And so I sort of am in a bubble, so if I worked in a bigger studio or was freelance, going around, probably have a better idea of how things have changed. So, for me, since the whole Me Too movement, I've become very more aware of, having to make a significant effort to try and change things, and unconscious bias. I've become very aware of unconscious bias, and luckily I'm a woman, so my unconscious bias encourages more women, because just realizing that we all want to work with people who are like us. That's fine if you're a woman, but it's not so great if you're a man, because so in my work, I do try and have a balance of men and women. I've usually got more women than men. And I have noticed that if the balance goes awry and there are more men in the studio than women, it definitely changes. The testosterone levels go up, and everything becomes a bit rowdier. So I think it's very healthy and perfect to have a really nice gender balance. But as I say, in the last 10 years, I don't know how much has changed, really.
I might just jump in here.
Yes.
I suppose from my side, so almost 10 years ago, I set up with a group of other females, we set up Women in Animation Ireland, and the Women in Animation Los Angeles had asked us to do that. And it was a very interesting time. At the time, Animation Ireland as well, which represents all of the studios, you know, that board would have been very male heavy, I guess. But you know, I can step back now and look, you know, look back over the last 10 years and see a huge change in a lot of areas, which is just really, really good to see. Looking back to our first meeting in animation, in Women in Animation Ireland 10 years ago, and the females that turned up, I think we had about 60 or 70 turn up, and just the issues that they were bringing to the table, and that we, you know, we took note of sort of everybody's issues. And you know, going from, you know, maternity leave, that wasn't even a thing back then. Just so many different areas that I think have been addressed and have been certainly have improved. So it's really good to see that now, as a female studio owner in the industry now as well. And there's so many, you know, you actually don't even notice the difference at a board meeting. There's probably more females than males in terms of representation. There's obviously a huge, you know, there's lots still to be done. I completely agree. Directors, there's not enough female directors. There's not enough females in certain areas, and definitely technical areas. But I think there is a lot of support. I think it's a positive time in the industry, and I think I think, you know, everybody is actually, from my experience, everybody is there to work together to try and solve this problem. And a problem there still is. There's females getting lost between college and HOD roles. So a lot still needs to be looked at, but I think there's a lot of support there to you know. So from that side, I think we're in a good place, but you know, we're not there yet.
Yeah, I would say similar, Deirdre. Just I'm with Brown Bag Films, and you know, we'd definitely have been part of the Women in Animation initiative. For me personally, I've been there just about 11 years now, so have been through the last 10 years in that environment, and personally as a female have found it very supportive in terms of career growth and opportunities. Like when I started there 10 years ago as a production manager, and have, you know, had always ample opportunity to grow my own career and, you know, make my way through as a producer and a senior producer, and I'm director of production now. And we have we have representation, I'd say, in a lot of our roles of females, but overall I would say the balance is definitely still, you know, more males overall. And in particular, some of the technical roles, I think we don't have any female CG soups. Would love to see that. Or assistant CG soups, you know, but in a lot of our lead roles we do have female representatives, which is fantastic. But yeah, definitely still a way to go in terms of trying to get the balance a little better overall, but just definitely have found it encouraging, and no barriers as such within that environment that I'm working in, but certainly room to improve in terms of trying to get the balance a lot better. But yeah, it's one of the larger studios, I would say, in Ireland, so there is, you know, there's more structure there to be able to support more people and the growth. I get that. Some of the smaller studios, it mightn't be the same, but certainly it's been very good from my experience of working through over there the last 10 years.
You know, it's great when you see a few of the, you know, I mean, I think all general studios I have found supportive, but you know, there's like female owned studios like Daily Madness, Pink Con, you know, who are very focused on working with females and encouraging females in director roles and storyboard and all that. I just think we're at a good time now. And also, you know, the National Talent Academy, which I'm program director of, and we've just launched that now. We're going to be focusing on gender, you know, potential gender issues, I guess, or, you know, imbalance as we start to launch our courses over the next over the coming months. But there's, yeah, I mean, it's from my side, it's just great to see the support that's there. But while we figure out how to address this issue. You know. Yeah.
I also wanted to add something.
Yes, I was going to ask to Hélène and Mehrnaz because they're newcomers in the industry and they have a very interesting profile. We had a conversation last week, and it was really interesting what you were saying about, you know, how to begin a career and how to get into leading creative roles. So Mehrnaz?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say that, like, as a person who has worked for about 10 years in animation industry as 3D animator, modeler, rigger, more technical parts of the animation, I made the Soloist film that is about women issues. And then I think in terms of the improvements of what has been improved in the animation industry, I think one of the main problems previously was the lack of faith in ourselves that stems from centuries of oppression of women in general. And I think that previously different societies have pushed girls and boys toward different preferences. For example, it goes back to the time that boys were encouraged to like things like more technology things, football or whatever, and then girls were pushed to in some countries to not continue their studying, to get married, bring children, raise children, or maybe just pay attention to art, but not anything related to technology. These projected expectations have possibly fed into later interests and career choices, I think. But I can see that gender roles and expectations are becoming more fluid, which is an exciting shift in my point of view. But when it goes to the directing, being a woman has made some of my work more challenging, honestly. And when it comes to finding an opportunity to be a director, trust and credibility need to be established with more effort. And you need to demonstrate and prove yourself to the industry that you have the relevant working experience and you are capable of achieving the same successful results like the others, but you can barely find the door open to you. There is not that many open job positions for young directors, and I think that's why somebody like me as a young director is trying so hard to establish this position for myself. And I think at the end we need a concerted effort to work with female talents and supporting them to develop their own voices. That's how I feel.
Hélène, what about technology?
I think Ella may have dropped out. She's not there at the moment.
She's not there. Well, I can maybe talk about, you know, what Hélène said last week. It was really interesting because Hélène is a young talent, female talent in game, which is in a way new. I mean, Deirdre, we were discussing about the fact that some bits of the industries are not at the same, you know, they level or don't go at the same pace as the others, and it is true that Hélène is back. Hélène, are you back with us? No,
your mic is off.
You're mute.
Hello, yes, sorry, I'm back.
Yes, Hélène, tell us about technology and girls and games and girls.
Yes, so I actually originally studied animation in Ballyfermot College in Dublin, but I eventually got into the gaming industry. So I'm a cinematic artist in a company called Larian based in Dublin. And yeah, I would say, I think that the gaming industry is probably even a little bit further behind the animation industry in terms of equal opportunities for women. thankfully in my own company, I've been very lucky with everything that I've come across thus far, but it's still very apparent that there is a big gap between men and women in the industry. There's about 38 people on my immediate team and only 10 of them are women. And I did some maths the other day and we are actually one of the better the better teams in the company. So we have about 400 people altogether and there's only 85 women in the company. So it's clear that there's still many strides that need to be taken with the games industry as well, that I'm very aware of, for sure. So it's always been a slightly more male-dominated world. I think it can kind of, if you go back to the earlier years, you can kind of see that when the gaming industry first started up, it was all male-dominated. And when you're in a world where all of the people making games are men, it's the target audience is probably going to be men as well. So I think it's nice to see that there's more genres of games coming out nowadays. So you have a wider field for women to come in and enjoy different types of games as well. And as time goes on, slowly, I hope, well, actually not slowly, fast, I hope we will see more women going into leadership positions as well, because that's still something that I see a big lack of in the gaming industry.
Ellen, could I just ask you a question? So when you were in college, was it gaming that was that an area that you, I'm just wondering, were other people, were there other students with you? Were you the only one who was kind of thinking that way, or, you know?
I doubt that I was the only person. So, I mean, I did study animation and I had kind of thought that I would go into TV or film originally, but I always wanted to get into the gaming world. And I discovered in college particularly that I really liked the technical side of things. So I was always geared more towards doing 3D animation than 2D. And even when I was doing 3D, I really liked the technical side of things. So I felt like there were definitely people in college who would have loved to go into the gaming industry as well, but it did tend to be the men a little bit more than the women. But even still, I actually am the only one from my course who is in the gaming industry that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I suppose just from our side, when we're looking at, you know, like we're doing a lot of work with colleges now and that, and it's like the gender balance there is pretty good, you know. So then it's sort of like, what happens, and where, you know, what, you know, why don't they, you know, why don't they follow through, I guess, and into positions like you're in. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even so, I graduated Ballyfermot in 2018, and when I started there was more women in our year than men, which I think was the first year that had happened, which is great to see. And then slowly, as we progressed through the years, we were only about 13 people in the final year of college, and I'd say it was about a 60-40% split. So there was about 5 women and 7 men in that final year. So yeah, it was pretty balanced in college. But then when you get, as you said, when you're getting into the actual industry, when I first went in, I think there was 2 women in the Dublin office, 2 or 3 women when I first started. So it was interesting to see, why was there such a gap between my college mates versus those who are actually in the industry. And yeah, I guess I think in about 10 years time, we will see those higher up roles being filled by women a lot more. That's just what I think. It will be a time sort of thing. But the nice thing is that the gaming industry, the women in the gaming industry are so open to talking to one another because we are in the minority. So I was able to get to talk to some women in the States and in Finland. And yeah, so they're always helping you to get up to that next step, but it's just interesting to see that there is less people there, less women in those roles.
Yeah, this is what we see as well as a school. You know, the really strong will to, you know, get into technology, get into, you know, the management leading management roles or leading creative roles, and then suddenly, you know, the numbers are going down drastically. I was just reading a big survey that has been done by the OECD on 500,000 students. The results just came out this morning, and they talk to boys and they talk to girls and about failure. What makes you fail, or what makes you not succeed? And the boys were never saying that it was a lack of talent. They were always saying it was lack of effort. But the girls were saying it was because I didn't have the talent. Okay. And I mean, do you all think that, you know, the self-bias that we have, do you think in your experience that it is one of the reasons of these numbers going down?
Can I chip in?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that as an employer, that men tend to be a lot more positive about their own talents than women. And if you were to go and if you were just to listen to how people describe themselves, you would only employ men because I'm really great at this, you know, and women say, well, you know, I've never done it before, but I might be able to. But it's not until you actually see what people can do that you realise what people are capable of. But I do think, and it is a generalisation, but I do think it's true that women really undersell themselves all the time. We all do it. And I was on a panel not too long ago, and it was a similar panel to this, and it was really interesting. People were talking about their pathways and how they got into animation and what they were doing. And we all were saying, it was really lucky I was in the right place at the right time, you know, and the chair said, it's not luck, you know, can we all stop saying that we were lucky and just say, no, you worked hard, you worked very hard, and your talent and your tenacity got you to where you were. And so ever since then, I've tried to stop saying, I'm just lucky, you know, because you shouldn't say it. It's only women that say it all the time, you know, oh, it was pure luck. I just happened to meet, you know, so yeah, we are our own worst enemy.
What could be done, you think, to improve things for, you know, getting access to young directors?
I mean, I've changed my way of describing myself ever since that forum, you know, and you know, I've never been told not to say certain things, but if women were taught in school not to describe themselves, you know, or just to be aware, it's this self-awareness, you know, and to say, don't fall into these traps because they don't help you, you know. And so, you know, if girls were taught at school about how to represent themselves, how to present themselves and not put themselves down, and how important it is to be positive, and just simple things like don't say certain things about yourself, and that would just really, really help, I think.
And I think as well at home, you know, those of us who are parents need to keep that in mind and take it on board for anyone who has daughters, and, you know, to make sure. I totally hear you, and I think a lot of it's just the self-confidence side of it. I mean, I do see that a bit with, you know, even just across some of the kind of series director roles that, you know, that team I would work with. I do see a bit of, you know, the lack of confidence in both some of the males and the females as well. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's exclusive to the females, but definitely I would say it's something I will take from this panel anyway. It's, you know, as a parent as well, just to remind ourselves that I do it myself, you know, I hate kind of saying, oh, I'm great at this or whatever. I don't, you know, I often will just be like, oh yeah, I'm good at that, or, you know, but I do think it's important to recognize when your own talents and speak about that, and, you know, put yourself forward. And it's not the easiest thing to do, and some of it's just depending on your own personality as well. But I'll certainly be taking that as good advice, Joanna, from this panel.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, like, as you said, Joanna, it could take conscious effort to actually, you know, well, what would a man do in this situation, or how would he present himself? And there's no, you know, I should, you know, be presenting myself in as positive a way as they would, I guess. And then also, you know, like you're saying, Lorraine, in terms of looking at our kids and looking at, you know, it's like, how far back do you go to try and deal with this issue? And that is, you know, we're at the academy as well, we're very much trying to focus on secondary schools and primary as well. And going back that far, where it actually starts, you know, where they start to think about what they may or may not want to do. And you know, also obviously very important at that time is what they see, you know, who they see in positions, you know, what they see is what they can imagine is possible for them. So there's all sorts of areas, but certainly that's one of them, in terms of how we see ourselves and how we put ourselves forward, and the certain lack of confidence that can often be there.
I agree as well, especially about like secondary school in particular. I feel like by the time that I was sort of getting into the technical side of things, it was quite late in my life. I was like 4 years into college. I'd never really gotten a chance to look into that stuff before. And even when I think back to secondary school, like I was in an all-girls school, Catholic all-girls Irish school, and there was no technical drawing. There was nothing along those lines that was taught in my school at all. I knew I liked art, and art was taught, so that's where I kind of figured out that I would like to get into animation. But I feel like starting those like areas earlier on in school would be great for women as well. Especially, I know that they're starting to do coding in schools, which is great, but trying to get that into girls' schools so that girls can try it out for themselves, see what they actually like, and then bring it into their careers means that they would have that experience a little bit earlier as well, instead of only catching up at the end of college or when you're getting into the industry itself.
I also want to add that apart from the fact that we have to have the we have to understand by ourselves that we need to encourage ourselves, we also need other women to encourage us too. It's we sometimes we know ourselves that we are, I don't know, talented, we can do stuff, we are experienced enough, and we are capable of doing what we really know. But we also need other people to encourage us to. We maybe need a community or a kind of special support from women to support the young artists in this industry. I think we need more women on top level of career who are capable of, who are able to inspire women of beginning stages of their career, to make sure that they understand also that these positions are also possible for every woman. It's not just about talent or whatever. It's about the fact that this position doesn't need to be mentioned to a man or a woman. It's just there. You should just try hard to get it. That's all.
I think I was just saw recently that Pixar's new movie Turning Red is the first full female creative crew. It's all creative, and that's absolutely amazing to see. I had mixed feelings when I was reading it though, because I know from women in animation LA, you know, we would get a lot from them about the difficulties that they're having. So then it was fantastic to see that Pixar are doing this. But then on the other hand, you're like, why am I so excited about this? You know, it's terrible to think that like that is such a big deal, you know.
Just the basic level.
You know, you're just like, oh wow. And then I'm like, wait, you know, and it would be nice to get to the point where that wasn't a big highlight, you know, a big thing to be highlighted, and where it is just normal. And I do find that, like I said earlier, within Animation Ireland and within you know, a lot of areas within animation here, that you know, you don't stand out as a female anymore. Definitely 10 years ago you were, but now it's like there is a certain amount of everybody's just doing their job, you know, and that's great. in the sort of the studio owners and you know, a lot of areas. But as we were saying, directors and that, there's still imbalance there. But you do, you know, you want it to get to the point where we just don't think about it, and that a panel like this isn't actually even needed. So that's where hopefully in a few years there won't even, you know, need to be a women in animation panel, because you know, maybe they'll want to have a men in animation panel.
Do you think there would be a need during the training, for example, for, you know, we do a lot of professional training. We help them doing their demo reel. We help them, you know, promote their work, but it's general for the whole students. Do you think there's a need for, you know, having a talk with the female almost graduate students to help them, you know, I don't know, do an interview? What do you say during an interview? Do you think that would be helpful?
Yeah, I would absolutely say that. And when the course that I used to work, I used to run an animation course, and before, when it was an HND course, not a degree course, part of it was interviewing, which at the time I thought was, I was trying to encourage people to make their own films and stuff like that, and having to do interviews didn't seem that appropriate. But looking back, it was very appropriate, and just being taught to present yourself, I think would be really, really useful. Another important thing to do was to talk about women going to animation festivals as well, and to be careful, because I have a lot of interviews with students for their theses and stuff like that, and recently quite a few have been telling me about getting into awkward situations in animation festivals, because most of the bosses are men, and of course you get these lovely young women students eager to show their work and stuff, and so it's a very imbalanced situation, and a lot of these young women get into very difficult situations. And so I think it's really important that colleges were to talk to women students and say, when you present your work at festivals, these are certain things to look out for, and guidelines, and and to be careful about certain things. So I think that's very important as well.
So we're having questions here, and there's one question that is I think directly related to what we were just saying. The question is, what is it that women bring to the working environment that men don't? Is there something that women bring to the working environment that men don't? What do you think?
From my experience, women bring, there's a seriousness that women have, I think, when they're working, and I just think the balance is really important. And I think not necessarily what women bring to it, but I think when you have too many men in an environment, the balance, there's this male thing of all men together, and they become a bit rowdy and a little bit sort of like, I'm talking terribly, these generalizations, but you can see this football crowd suddenly happening, and you think they're going to start chanting. So when women are there, it just brings everything back to normal. It's like having their sisters around and their mothers around. It's just a balance that I think just goes out of kilter when there aren't enough women in the space.
Yeah, it's all about the mindsets as well, getting different viewpoints, different opinions, and as you said, Joanna, like being more balanced as well. I am personally against saying like, oh, women are definitely going to be better at this and men are going to be better at this, or I don't like those generalizations, but it is nice to just have a variety of people, and in that case as well, you do need a variety of women to have like different viewpoints. I just think it's better overall, for sure, instead of just saying, oh, because I'm a woman, I will bring this to the workforce, because we are not all the same, and that's really important too.
And I mean, I think as well, it's not even like, I agree with all those points, but on the other side as well, it's not even a case that I guess we're saying, oh, we bring more or whatever. It's it's also just like, well, we should have as much chance as the a guy coming to an interesting one again with We LA. I remember one of their conversations that we had that they brought up was a male and a female artist who they both graduated from the same college. They both got similar similar degrees. They were the same skill level. Both went into the same company. It was one of the big studios over there, and he just went higher than her. It was a very good, for them, it was a good case study because they were just so similar, and to be able to look at how he advanced quicker than her. And I think in that case, the two of them were bringing exactly the same thing to the table, but it was easier for him. So it's not really a case that we're here kind of going, oh, women are better than men, or women or whatever. It's really just like, listen, we're all here doing the same job, and we would like not to stick out. I'd like not to read a Pixar story saying how amazing it is that Pixar are letting women create this new movie of theirs. We just want to get along and do our job same as everybody else. So.
I have another question about the women's career, involving having kids and doing this balance between your personal life or your family life and your professional life. And the question is about, women sometimes have to take a few years away from the industry, and when they come back, things have changed a lot. So the question is about, what is the industry doing to help these women to come back to the industry?
I'll take that if that's okay. Just from a personal experience, I have two children. So one is 5 and the little boy is 1. So I've been there having to take time out for maternity leave and extended maternity leave. So I'm back kind of in brown bag since April last year, after having been out for a year. And that's hard, it is, you're coming back in, your home life has changed. But I think for me, a lot of it's a mindset thing as well. You want to, I find, even just as a manager, working within the team and in the same situation myself, it's a mindset thing and understanding and supporting each other. I think certainly in Brown Bag, there's a lot of us who are parents with similar age children, and that kind of helps that we can all talk to each other, both as the women and the dads as well, because obviously the dads aren't in the same situation where they're having to take a bigger chunk of time, but they are dealing with the day-to-day where somebody's sick and they need to take the afternoon off or take the next day off because somebody's ill, or these kinds of things. And I do think there's definitely much more understanding of that now. That's been a massive change, I think, in the last 10 years. And I think there's so many more of us, I think, in a similar situation where we are kind of allowing ourselves to understand that we can work and be really good at our jobs and what we do, and be parents as well, and I do understand, like, from my perspective, I do have the support of the company I work in, and maybe it's definitely probably more challenging if you're working on a freelance basis or coming in and out. It's a different support system, so I'd be interested to hear some more thoughts on it, but just wanted to speak from personal experience as to how I have found it. And it is kind of with those supports, like Deirdre mentioned earlier, like the maternity leave policies coming on board and being a much more standard, that there shouldn't be any difference. There's definitely room to go. Like, it's not perfect either, but I do think there has been big strides in that area over the last number of years.
There really has, like, there's so much more of an awareness. I mean, I had my first child nearly 20 years ago, and there was nothing, like nothing then. I think I probably had maybe 3 weeks off, if even. But it's great to see now. And yeah, that was one of the big things when we Ireland started, was what do we do if we want to have a baby, or like, you know, and so 10 years ago, and to see the difference there, and the sort of, there is understanding, and there is, you know, even for smaller companies where obviously it's hard to provide maternity leave, you know, for smaller companies, but there's different supports there, and there are ways of working things around, like even schedules. You know, I think there's a great understanding of shifting schedules around and that kind of thing now, that I would say that certainly was not there, definitely not there 20 years ago, not there 10 years ago, but there is now. And even, you know, paternity leave being something that's come in now as well. You know, there's again just greater understanding of people's lives outside of the industry. Is nice to see. But it is tougher for females who want to be able to take a bit of time off and try and get back into the industry for sure.
I also want to add something to what said, that for me as a woman who is 35 years old has dedicated all her life to work, I should say that right now, in comparison with the past, today's world is really competitive. There are moments, there are a lot of things that you have to sacrifice if you want to stay in this industry. If not, there will be another person that will be there once you just say that I'm sick, or I have to go somewhere, or I want to have a child, or whatever. And my world in comparison with my mom's world is absolutely different, because when she was at my age, she had 5 children, she was working, she was a supervisor, and there was nobody else that could be replaced by her. But now, I mean, you can barely find a good position for yourself rather than thinking about your life as well. So it should be a kind of insurance in the companies you're working, that they know about you, your experience, and your talent, and you can feel safe when you are hired by them. That if you, for example, have talk about your normal life, it doesn't hurt your position or your future career as well.
So this is more management practices in the studios. Do you think that the management in the studios has changed?
I mean, just in coming from a studio environment, I think it's more evolved, and we've become much more aware, and there's just much more initiative across the board. It's not like the management has changed as such. It's just we've moved with the times, and you know, 10 years ago when I joined the company, I think it was only a year or two later, there's just nobody had actually left to go and have a baby and come back. You know, it was the first person who was having a baby that triggered, oh, we better get organized and get a maternity policy in place. And that's become more structured and has been revised over the years, but it just hadn't come up as a thing. Just, you know, it was a younger company at the time, but you know, Brown Bag is you know, quite established company at this stage, and it's had to, as the workforce expanded, we've got, you know, over 300 people now in Dublin. So and it is a young it's a young employees, you know, lots of young employees who are potentially wanting to have families in the future as well. And we just need to ensure that if you're coming in, that's all there and it's all available to people. So I don't think the management has changed as such. It's just we certainly listened, I think, and then taken on board and understanding what's necessary. If you want to have a valuable member of the workforce who's a woman, then you need to give them those options to them. Otherwise they won't come back, and then you're going to lose somebody valuable off your team, you know. So it really is important, and I think it just shows the value in the workforce that we want to have people come back. That's really, really important.
So what do you see in the next 5 years? Are you optimistic for the future, ladies? What do you think is going to happen?
I think it would be a success if in the next 5 years we don't need a women in animation panel. that's what would be good. That's what I would see success. And I certainly see it heading there, but there's a good bit of work to do, and it is getting into the nitty-gritty of, you know, okay, where are we losing them? Where are we losing female director, you know, potential female directors? Where, because there's many, like me doing a show, you know, I know a lot of other people doing shows that are like, I'd actually love to hire a female director for the show. I just don't, there isn't one available, you know. So yeah, so I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but in 5 years' time, yeah, if the need for a women in animation panel was not there, that would be success in itself, like, you know. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I think it's improving every single year that goes by. I mean, as I said, even in college, the numbers of women had increased. They were nearly more women when I started than ever before. So it's obvious that as the years goes by, the opportunities are becoming much more available. And even in the workforce as well, I can see it changing as time goes on as well, especially when you do get more women into those leadership roles. It's more common now that we are getting into the leadership roles. That's going to have a knock-on effect to the seniors, the intermediates, the juniors who are coming in. When you see these people in these roles, it seems like something that is actually tangible, like you can actually do that. Even now, anytime that I see someone going into a leadership role, I feel like, yes, it's happening. I'm the only female lead on my team, so that was daunting to think of when I first went in. It wasn't necessarily something I thought in the run-up, but it is just something that you're subconsciously aware of, looking around. Oh, I actually am the only one. Whereas if there had been a few there before me, it would have been nice to just see that it's possible. So that's what I'm hoping now. Like, as time goes on, we'll see more women in leadership, director roles, and I think it's definitely still improving, but it can still keep improving.
Yeah, I agreed, Ellen. And I think, you know, because we have a lot of women in production type roles, and I think more female directors would be fantastic. And also, as I said, we don't have any female CG soups. I'd love to see some women coming through in that role, because it is a big part of any team. And, you know, just I would love to see that dynamic coming through. So there's definitely room for improvement, and lots that could be achieved within a 5-year period for sure.
If I could just chip in and just talk about short film, I've been on quite a lot of Zoom juries and film festivals over the last couple of years, and the amount of really strong films by women has been exceptional. And not just films by women, but telling women's stories and unflinching, you know, just really strong. And the other very positive thing is that film festival now, the juries are very much balanced, and some of them are just totally women. There was not too long ago, just 4 years ago, like most of the film festival juries were men, literally. And so that has been a big change, because once you get juries awarding films by women and recognizing women's stories, you know, it all sort of feeds into the positive, setting up a very positive environment for women to work in and to feel that they've got a place for their voice, you know. So in terms of short film and film festivals, it's looking really positive.
I also want to add that as a person who has made a film about women, about just very normal rights that women should have, I'm really impressed to see that after my graduation film was released on YouTube, festivals were recognizing the film, and they had events about women in animation. And in that festivals, they were asking that, are these things that you have shot in your short film, are they really real? I mean, the film is there, everything is there, all the descriptions are there, but still they were asking, are they really real? These things, are they really happening? Yes, they are happening to women, even in this century. So, and I'm really grateful that there is this chance for women to talk about and defend about what they have made, which is really important. So I'm really excited. I'm really grateful that these things are still there. We still need them, even if in 5 years we fortunately we're not going to need them anymore, but it's still, the need is there. We still need them.
Well, ladies, I'm told that we need to leave this room for the next discussion. Thank you very, very much. It's always a pleasure to talk with so talented persons from this industry about these topics that are super important. Well, I thank you for the people who ask, so many questions. And enjoy the rest of the day and the festival in Dingle. Thank you very much. Bye bye.